Welcome to part 2, Smart Digital presentation. We're going to talk about motion detection and how it's configured for our current premises. And if you happen to notice, we have a corporate headquarters listed and a Houston office location listed. This is to demonstrate that you can have multiple locations anywhere you would like. If you happen to have a corporate headquarters in, let's say, Dearborn, Michigan, and you have a distribution center in Houston, Texas, we can configure those to where they are on the same exact portal, per se, for you to view. So we want to talk about just motion detection, and in the future videos we will get into the other feature sets that are available and the different ways that you can configure your cameras. And again, we talk about 5 different capabilities that our surveillance software and cameras have. We can detect for motion detection, loss of power, loss of focus, missing objects and foreign objects. Again, we put those in the same category, and also camera occlusion. So what we want to do is we want to show you how to configure your cameras for motion detection. And really, I want to get into this, and I get excited when I talk about it, because there are different ways to configure these cameras, and there are also very easy ways that we can copy the configuration over to all of our cameras at all of our locations. So again, I want to click on the Event Add button here. We want to select General Motion and say OK. Again, this is detection of any movement. And what it's going to do is it's going to prompt us to pick a field of vision, or actually a region inside of the frame that camera is looking at. And if you notice, we can pick multiple frames and just keep adding those regions. Say this is an area with a toolbox, or this is a doorway, such as you see up here. So we could actually highlight that entire doorway and say, hey, if we notice anyone coming through here, I want us to be alerted in case of any motion detection in this general area. If you're like me, you're going to select the entire region, and how we do that is you can either manually select the entire region just by dragging and dropping your square or your region, or you can also just select all, and it picks the entire frame, as you notice. Now we can start the simulation, and if you notice, I run my hand in front of the camera, you can notice that it does pick the motion up. So we know that now the camera is configured correctly. We want to say OK. Now here's the neat thing. We can tell basically what type of action we want the camera to take once it detects the event, in this case being motion detection. And we can either play a sound, we can send an email to someone, we can make a phone call. If we had a regular modem, this would dial out to a telephone number over a regular POTS line, or we could set the camera to automatically zoom in on a certain area if it were a pan tilt zoom capable camera, or we could set the camera to automatically alert, sending a signal over to a digital input or output device, being an audible alarm, or say a visible siren. We can send an SMS text, we can send an email, or basically a signal to a central server, or even via FTP up to a central server. And we can even open a feature what we call is the EMAP, and we'll get into that later. But in this case, we're going to play a sound, and how we do that is we're going to say OK. It's going to open another window and ask us what kind of sound do we want to play. We're going to select Alarm 2, say OK. We're going to say OK here. Now in doing this, it's going to set off an alarm, and I want to show you how neat this thing actually is. So click OK, and we want to start the monitoring on the cameras. If you notice, if there is no detection, motion detection on that camera only, the one that I've configured, it will set off an alarm. Now, how we stop that is we go back up and we stop monitor all, and I can go back in really easily, and you notice that I can take this back off. And how we do that is we click on the configuration itself, and we can either delete the action entirely or we can copy it to all events that have been configured for this camera. In this case, we're going to go ahead and delete it, say OK, go back in, and we'll start the monitoring, and you'll notice it does not give me any kind of audible alarm, but it does alert and put a message up on the screen for general motion. So that's just a real fast configuration video, and we'll get into the other capabilities of the cameras and really how detailed we can get with configurations is up to you. We wanted to show different feature sets and capabilities of what these cameras actually have in the software. Really, the software is what drives the cameras. So we want to thank you for watching this YouTube video, and please continue to watch the other videos that we'll go ahead and publish about the other feature sets.